my parents collected vinyl records, so music was always in the household. Going to visit record stores and purchasing vinyl was always a part of it. And yeah, a lot of music.
You are listening to the Artist King podcast. I am your host, DTM of DeltaTangoMike.com. The Artist King podcast features artists, entrepreneurs, and business coaches who share their knowledge, expertise, and resources to provide insight into the ways we can find our own personal success with our creative talents. Courtney Brooks is an Atlanta-based visual artist, art instructor, and independent curator. Originally from Denver, Colorado, she rekindled her passion for painting by encouraging creativity and connecting communities through the arts. She is the former gallery director and curator of the Southeast Community Cultural Center, known as the ArtsXchange Sinclair Gallery. In addition, the first woman of color curator in residence for Art on the Atlanta BeltLine, where she had the freedom to transform a public art space. Hello, Courtney. Welcome to the Artist King podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you stopping through and joining us. Please, for those who are listening, tell them your name and where you're from.
My name is Courtney Brooks, also known as C. Brooks Art and Courtney the Curator. And I'm originally from Denver, Colorado, but I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia for the last 18 years.
Yeah, it's like you're from Georgia now.
I know. I've been here as long as I lived in Denver, so.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm born and raised in LA, but I spent a lot more time in Atlanta than I ever have anywhere else I lived.
Right.
That's funny. So tell us about your upbringing. Was there art or creativity in your household growing up?
There was, to a certain extent. I mean, my mom used to collect like Jet and Ebony magazines,
Okay.
and so she would make collages out of those magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like arts and craft type creativity, but my parents collected vinyl records, so music was always in the household. Going to visit record stores and purchasing vinyl was always a part of it.
Yes.
And yeah, a lot of music, definitely. A lot of music, definitely.
Yeah, and nowadays collages we call them like mood boards.
Right. That's a new term for them.
Yeah. So that's cool. And yeah, music to me is like the common denominator. It's all it takes is a radio. You don't need a whole lot of equipment to listen to some good jams. So music
Right.
is always something. And so, what were your beginnings as a creative person? Were you doing the collages, also joining in when you can, or did you have other inspirations?
I joined in, but I also doodled a lot. I just used to scribble and randomly draw on stuff. I used to get in trouble for, drawing on the bottom of my shoes or tracing the bottom of my shoes or
Uh-huh.
like taking fingernail polish and using it as a paintbrush on something
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to use on my own. But as far as like grade school goes, like elementary, I would go to. I mean, we had like little art projects, and I remember the first time I won an award. We had to went on a field trip, and we had to paint these Victorian style houses.
Mm-hmm.
Won an award for like third place for it, and my mom took the pitch, took the painting to work, and she said one of her coworkers wanted to purchase it, and she was like, "But I'm gonna keep it for myself and let me grow up." So that was probably like the first time that I was just like, "Oh, someone likes my work." Like I
Mm-hmm.
never thought about it. I was just doing a school project, but
Right.
for so from then that kind of just sparked my interest in the visual arts.
Mm-hmm. And
Hmm.
so you must have taken art classes in school and
Yes,
focused on working on your art.
yes. I wish I mean I did. I took those were my favorite classes, right? So throughout
Mm-hmm.
middle school, I took a lot of art classes, all the classes that I could take. In high school, we have my phone, right? So
Oh, hold on one second. Looks like.
we'll call my phone. High school definitely took art classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to be a dancer for like one class. I went
Okay.
to a choreography class, but
Uh-huh.
it didn't really pan out because I was like I should have been 5 years old, and these 5 year olds are getting the 8 count. So I was like, it's too late. I think I was like 13.
Uh-huh.
I was like, there it's too late.
Yeah.
I'll just stick to art, to painting and drawing and stuff. But definitely high school definitely made me like I really do like this. I
Mhm.
remember my senior year, um we had a project, and I remember it was during Black History Month, but the project was to paint, we were doing watercolors, and we were to paint Native Americans, but I had asked my teacher, I was like, well, it's Black History Month. Can I just paint somebody black? No
Mhm.
disrespect, but it's Black History Month. And
Mhm.
now they went to a predominantly white
Mhm.
school, and she allowed me to. And I actually painted a picture of Frederick Douglass and Billie Holiday. And I won an award for
Uh-huh.
the Billie Holiday. So it was just like, listen to me,
Yeah.
advocating for myself. So that was like, I think that's the first
Mhm.
time I ever advocated for myself, and it panned out. Like I actually
Mhm.
received an award for it. So
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, nice. Nice. And so is that some of your themes in your art in the early days?
Yeah, a lot of times I used to, well, I that was like my first time actually like having confidence to do like a portrait.
Mhm.
But then I think I just kind of like led to more like figure drawing and bodies and just still life, because those were like the assignments that I was given, so I would kind of just practice those on my own.
Mhm.
I think my earlier works, and like my cousins and people who know me from my earlier works, I used to paint a lot of afros and booties. So that, you can see a lot of that in my own work.
Okay. Okay. And so as growing up and taking these art classes, you're very interested. Was an art career something you were seriously considering?
Not to. I thought about it, but not really. Like I wanted to do interior design. So like my first
Mhm.
initial, I had went to visit. Like my best friend sister went to UNLV, and we went there for spring break. And I was like, I'm gonna go to UNLV, and they have interior design. So I was like, I think I was gonna
Mhm.
be interior director, decorator. And I remember
Okay.
taking a class, my senior year, and I was just like, oh, this is a lot of math. And
A lot of
I
measurements.
like decided against it, right? And plus
Uh-huh.
I missed the deadline for UNLV. So I was just like, I'm gonna go to HBCU. So I went to Texas Southern for my freshman year, because my mom's family is originally from Texas, and a lot of my mom's family were from Houston. So I was like, I'm gonna go and
Mhm.
get back to my roots and go to a school out here. But I just went for like my freshman year. They didn't have any art classes. So I was just like,
Uh-huh.
and then I ended up going to community Houston Community College for like a semester, and I took like a watercolor class, and that kind of sparked my like, okay, I really want to do this.
Mhm.
And then I ended up coming to visit Atlanta for Thanksgiving. I was like, I'm gonna move to Atlanta. And so when I moved out here, that's what I was like when I was trying to find schools. I ended up going to AIU, and they had
Mhm.
digital communications at the time, which switched over to digital design. And so I focused on graphic design. So I was like, I'll do graphic design that can, pay my bills, and I would do freelance, but I also still want to paint. So I was just trying to
Mhm.
navigate my way. As long as I was in a creative field, it made sense. Yeah.
Right, right.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's always like the path of least resistance. If you're gonna get a job or follow a career path, and it's not 100% just creative art, whatever medium, then a lot of times graphic design seems to be like at least we're in the same wheelhouse. We're kind
Right.
of related field. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you graduate. So you went to college. So after, a couple of, and that's usually how our career path is, like a few turns, a few
Right.
detours. And so, did you finish and did you graduate college and take jobs in graphic design?
Well, I graduated. I worked all the way through college. I worked in a restaurant. I was a manager, bartender, server. So that was like my jobs all the way through college. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I graduated, I still found myself doing that. And I would do like freelance, like logos and like, for small businesses and stuff. So I never really went out for like an actual like corporate job to like do graphic design. But I still was working on my art and painting and stuff on the side. And so the restaurant that I worked at, the owner, it was in Castleberry Hill, so they had a Castleberry Art Show on Fridays. And he was like, "Well, you can show your artwork on Fridays." And so I ended up like start showing my artwork at the restaurant
Uh-huh.
I was working at. And so it just kind of just kicked from there. And like City of Ink was down the street, so then I got to meet like Maya Bailey and just kind of immerse myself in like the art community over there. And so
Mm-hmm.
that just kind of like helped me just have a little bit more confidence and like starting to submit work, even though I was getting rejected, but I was still
Right.
trying. I
Right.
still had a place that was like anything to me. And I was like, you can show your work here. So I just
Mm-hmm.
started
Mm-hmm.
working, showing my work. And I, I realized that the first time I ever curated was my own solo show. That was in like 2014. And that kind of kicked it off,
Uh-huh.
like to do a full time artist. No, I take that back. Well, that was the first time I like curated a show for my work, but I also was starting to teach like at Sips and Strokes, which was like the paint mobile party classes, like
Mm-hmm.
at those studios. And so I began teaching. So I had access to paint, to free paint and canvas. And so I was just like, I can practice more. So now that I'm teaching classes, it
Uh-huh.
just like sparked, more interest in my own studio practice.
So we're gonna touch on your solo show, and but the Sips and Strokes. I remember um, seeing meeting you in one of those. I forget what I walked in there for. But there you. I think went in asking questions because I was interested in that. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
get to hang out with people, show them how to paint, and you get to have a painting session yourself,
Right.
and it's like, hey, I get paid for this.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
remember walking in to ask questions and seeing you there. What was the your motivation, or how did you find that opportunity to take on teaching?
So it was crazy. I worked at Hard Rock. So I used to have like, so at the time I was working two jobs. I worked at Hard Rock Cafe and I was bartending at this in the lounge in Castleberry. And so there was like a networking event across the street, like
Mm-hmm.
literally. And when I was walking in, this like cute little older lady was like walking in. She had like canvases in her hand, and I like held the door. I held the door for her and like helped her. And we just like started talking on the way up. And she was like, "Yeah, I own Sips and Strokes, and I teach. We have these one-on-one instruction classes. And not necessarily one on one, but these paint classes. And so
Mm-hmm.
I just say had like a little booth set up in the vendor area, and I literally like got her information, and she was like, "Well, come to a class on a Saturday and see how it is."
Uh-huh.
I told her I did art, and so I went to the class, and they were painting like stilettos. They was paint like that was like a huge thing. They was painting like these high heels, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like 100 people in the class, and I was like, "What is
Mm-hmm.
going on?" There was someone on stage, and they had music, and she like shouted me out on stage, like, "Well, we have a real artist in the building. So if y'all need help, she can help you." And she just threw me into the wolves, and I was just
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, so people are like asking me to help them paint their pictures," and
Uh-huh.
so that was kind of like my initiation, and then from there on, I was like, she hired me, and I just like ended up teaching classes for like. I actually ended up working with her for about 7 years, like part time, just like working in
Uh-huh.
the studio, then also doing like mobile classes, team building. We went to colleges, corporate offices. It
Mm-hmm.
was I learned a lot. But that's how I started.
That's jumping right into the business of art right there.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Bookings, supply, inventory.
Mm-hmm.
every- Yeah.
Yeah. You got to charge enough to cover your expenses and pay yourself.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so along the way, you got the chance to curate your own show. Was that on purpose, or was it an off chance? Say, let me put some artwork somewhere.
um. So again, I just have to shout out. His name was not was is Damon Scott, who was the owner of the restaurant that I worked at, and he said, "Courtney, like, because we would have DJs coming all the time. There would be
Mm-hmm.
like live music downstairs or open mic, and there was like all other types of creatives that was coming in, living their life. And he was just like, "Well, Courtney, like, you gonna continue to work for me and follow my dream, or you gonna do your own thing?" And I was just like, he was like, you can do it. And I was just like, okay. So I ended up, I started this series called She Is, and it was just like me painting women,
Mm-hmm.
like black and white with colorful backgrounds. And I was like, well, I'm gonna do a
Mm.
show called She Is, and I ended up curating the space, and it led me to I had like a saxophone player. I had vendors. It was like I literally just took the template of what was already happening there, and I just
Mm-hmm.
incorporated art. And so I already
Mm-hmm.
had the support because I'm a bartender, and I just would tell all my regulars to come, and then
Right.
I printed out flyers, and I was just like passing them out, and I made no, not flyers, I made postcards, and I'm like, you don't want to buy this postcard for $5? I would like sell like postcards, and they would support me, and they came to the
Uh-huh.
show, and we had a DJ, and I did an opening and a closing with no experience. Like I
Mm-hmm.
literally just did it, and
Mm-hmm.
as long as I had the venue space and people were supporting me, I didn't know what I was doing, but it worked out.
Right. Right. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those that collection.
Hmm.
So when did that collection start? Where did that idea come from? And of course, you did mention afros and booties earlier. So tell me about the evolution of the theme of your art.
So then for that series, she is again. I think I just started getting on Instagram, and there was this page I follow called Curl Box, and it was always like these beautiful women with hairstyle. It was like a hairstyle page, and so it was just like all these beautiful like photos with women with hair and just
Mm-hmm.
all done up. And so I would just like screenshot the photos, and I was like, I'm gonna practice painting this,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of led to one thing, and I just kept doing like after I would teach a class, I would stay and paint for myself. And so I started painting these canvases of these women, and it just became a series. And I would write poetry about it. And I actually was going through a heartbreak at the time too, so it really like helped me stay like focused and
Uh
like
huh.
from that time. I would remember being at the studio till like 2 o'clock in the morning, just like painting and like okay, what this woman represents. And so I think I had about 12 or 15 pieces in that show. Um, and I think I sold like 4, and I remember I think I made like my first $500 or something,
Wow.
and I used that to go to New York, and I never been to New York. I used it. I took the bus to New York, and I took the little overnight bus to New
Mm-hmm.
York to drop me off in Chinatown, and I literally had a come into America moment because I was the last one off the bus, and my bag was gone. I was like, where's my luggage?"
What? Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, this is my first time in New York. And I was like, no, I had all my cool stuff, my cowgirl boots, and I had prints and my business cards. I had all my stuff in there because I was like, I'm gonna come to Brooklyn
Mm-hmm.
but anyway, luckily the girl who took my bag, she brought it back to me because she
Oh.
didn't look like hers. And so she was like, this is my bag. And I was
Oh, so it was a mistake. It
yeah,
wasn't a
it was a
scam.
mistake.
Oh.
So
uh
it was a mistake. So she like took a cab
huh.
from Brooklyn. I was in Chinatown, so she took a cab from like luckily she called me. She found my business card inside
Uh
the.
huh.
But anyway, so yeah, that was
Whew.
I spent my money from the sales of the
Mm-hmm.
the couple of pieces I did sell to go to New York for the first time. So.
Wow, that's awesome. And it's that's part of the creative experience. And I didn't mean to smile and laugh when you say you were going through a breakup, but to me that like that's where inspiration comes from, experience of
Yeah,
something.
right,
And unfortunately, sometimes it's those negative experiences or those heart hurting experiences that push you further.
right. True story. No, it's a real life situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's great that it was a mistake. It was not one of those scams where you come off the bus and there's already somebody trying to scam you out of your money, your wallet, and
Right.
stuff like that. It's awesome. It's great. So tell us about then some of the themes that you've since worked on because I've seen you work on curating shows,
Hmm.
curating and working on a sculpture. I think it was a big chair.
Yeah, they got their own.
Uh huh. And it's like and so it's like you have not just one thing that you do, whether it's a painting or illustrations, but you as a curator you're able to of course bring in the community together but also have a vision for something that you want to share with the world and your own art that is as big as that throne chair and in 3D form.
Right.
So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So, I, you know, I'm still it's still a balancing act, right? Like we wear these different hats when you feel like you were trying to like experiment and do different things. And so even with curating, it's like I get to meet these amazing artists and see all these different styles and go to do studio visits. And then
Mm-hmm.
an imposter syndrome comes in my head, like as an artist, like, okay, Courtney, you're an artist too. You was an artist before a curator, right? And so it's just
Mm-hmm.
great. The things that I've seen and been inspired by, is just like make sure I'm doing my own thing, right? I know we pull and get have admiration for other artists, but it's just like sometimes I hold back because I'm want to be like, well, is this my artwork or is this something that I've seen, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like really be conscious of that. But anyhow, I received a art residency, and shout out to Melania, who she was like who started this residency with Rainwater, this development property, and they created these apartments, and we I created a mural, and she was like, "Well, what about a sculpture?" And I was like, "I ain't never did a sculpture before." She was like, "Well, just think about it." And so, after like brainstorming, I was like, what if I create a throne, and it could be metal and wood. So I'm thinking like all these things. I come up with the design. I wanted to incorporate something with the logo,
Mm-hmm.
and that was like kind of how the shape of the back of the chair was. But I also wanted to incorporate my painting style. So a lot of carve the the carve outs of the metal were my paint strokes.
Okay.
And so when I designed it, luckily, with the residency, they had the funding for me to help fabricate it. So I reached out and I found someone to help me, and it just worked out perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just remember just even researching the type of metal to use, going to driving all the way to almost it might have been Kennesaw to find the wood. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and just like learning to sand and cut stuff down. And so,
Yeah.
seeing it come to life.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I don't, and I forgive me because I feel like I'm drawing a blank of his name who helped me. And I'm like, he deserved a shout out because he helped me install it. He helped me cut the the metal, and helped me as far as like researching what type of coating to do. I did this like rainbow. It was a black. It was what was the name of it? I can't think of the name. But
Yeah.
anyway, it was like this rainbow iridescent type reflection, like coating, metal
Uh-huh.
coating on the metal, and so in the sunlight it changes different colors. It's so pretty.
Mm.
So it's like I learned a lot. It's just to continue in that field. It's just like it's gonna take a lot of funding,
Mm-hmm.
stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So creating like public art sculptures is really expensive. So,
Mm-hmm.
but from the scraps, I did create like smaller pieces that I was able to weld and
Right.
and use like the leftover wood as like as the stand for them. So still experimenting with the metal and design.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
crazy. So I looked it up. It says Phil
yeah.
Proctor's
Proctor.
sculpture. Mm-hmm. No, it's okay. You
Thank
got a lot of work on your Instagram, and you got to slow down. Like if somebody's looking through it, you got to slow
you.
down and appreciate all of it. It's a lot of work here, but I found them working on the middle.
Okay. Nice.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a very intense looking chair. I need that in my house.
It's called Universal Being. It's just like I want it to be interactive. I wanted people to sit in it and feel
Hmm.
like and take a moment to breathe and just be grateful for who they are and who they can be. Just a moment of reflection. So it's just
Hmm.
we all have a purpose here. And so
Hmm.
that was the reason I wanted people to feel like the royalty that they are, like
Yeah.
have that confidence when you sit in it.
Nice, nice. That's good. And there's a mural behind it on
Yes.
that building. And so you sat there and painted that wall. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
So I did the mural came first because we were trying to figure out that sculpture, the throne was we were trying to figure out where we were going to put that at
Hmm.
throughout the property. We wanted to sit on the belt line so people can see it. Came in on the South Side Trail, but we couldn't get clearance for that because the property didn't own the part. So it was like we were
Hmm.
like trying to find. But anyway, but once I finished the mural, I was like, we just put it right in front of the mural. I was like, I have the backdrop. But yeah, so that makes so much sense.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that mural was the largest install that I've created thus far. Um, and that was a journey itself because even trying to bring the boom lift across that sidewalk, I was like, don't crack the sidewalk. Put
Hmm.
all these like plywood down and it still cracked the sidewalk. And I just like tried like for the opening or the reveal, I painted the sidewalk with the cracks. So I guess a part of the painting. And it was like literally right in front, right behind the throne. So I was like, it's a part. It all goes together. Y'all should just keep it.
Uh-huh. Right, right, right. That's
Let the
my
paint
gift to
crack.
you. I brought it all in together. That's right.
Right.
And so this is awesome. This is great. And so How do you feel about I know you're saying everybody has a place to express, or when you were talking about the chair,
Hmm.
to feel the art and so on. So do you feel like you're in your zone as a creator and curator, um, and you're able to tell a story and a message that you want the world to know about?
Yes, I think yes. I feel like one of them, I don't want to say it's a flaw. It could be a pro and a con. The pro is like I'm able to keep creating spaces and coming up with themes and different stories to tell with curating different like exhibitions. Um, and I feel like it's like, oh, it's cool to come up with something new.
Mm-hmm.
But I also respect those who find a theme and they put all their love into it and it's able to continue like year after year and be like, we have something to look forward to. This
Mm-hmm.
is the brand and we're gonna stick to this, right? And so it's just like I love that because then you're like you can just curate or this one big project or event once or twice a year and people look forward to. Where for me, I have been opposite. I've done pop-ups. I've done
Mm-hmm.
every show is totally different, and it's just like I like it, but it can be. It's like what story are you trying to tell because everything is totally different, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But still in the realm of just still celebrating ourselves, self awareness,
Mm-hmm.
joy, like wanting. And some of the topics are can be heavy, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I just want to create new narrative.
It's
That's
okay.
silent. I didn't think about it. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, so curating has I I feel like I leaned into that a lot more recent over the last couple of years because I think I just like this sense of community and just meeting people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard to sit still and be with myself and paint for myself. So it's just like I'm trying to get it back into that space because a lot of times if I am showing work, it's like, oh, okay, there's a show coming up. This is the theme for it, and I can
Mm-hmm.
create a piece for that theme. Because
Right.
oh, that's challenging. But like, when will I really sit down and have my own body of work that is cohesive? Because
Mm-hmm.
I hop from, like I said, like exploring the metal work. This was totally outside of normally of me switching from acrylic to oil painting,
Mm-hmm.
or I haven't even painted. I haven't even used a watercolor in a while. But even just like photos, like photography, and having photo references, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and then back to like random like abstract because I'm literally just painting my feelings. Like I don't know what to paint, so now I'm just like I'm literally just slapping paint on the canvas because I'm just trying to get my feelings out because I don't
Uh,
have the patience to sketch anything out. I don't have a thought. I'm just
mm-hmm.
it's really me just expressing myself. So
Mm-hmm.
when certain artists and you know their style, I'm just like when people are like, "Oh, that's a Seabrooks painting," because okay, those strokes are that looks like a new series that she's doing with these paint strokes. Or I know she uses a lot of color. That could be a Seabrooks art painting, but when it goes back to like my portraits or this like random,
Mm-hmm.
my
Oh, that's
goat,
cool.
that goat that I painted when I went to Haiti. So it's just like I could paint some animals too.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to put myself in a box, but I still want a body of work that makes sense.
Right, right, right. No, and I think it's fine. Um, to that is very diverse. That your creativity, your inspiration is very diverse. Because
Hmm.
I think that if we frame it with a journey of a black girl
Yes.
within that context, I mean, it's great that the journey is very broad and wide in its interests and stuff. Because, like you said, I don't want to be in a box in that this is the only thing you do. Even though, I mean, I like what I like to paint. Um, but I feel like or draw. I do a lot more drawing. But and to some extent, I still want people to feel like, oh, they can still come to me and say, hey, let's try some project that's really unrelated. And
Mhm.
like, cool, why not? Um, but yeah, it's all a journey, I
Right.
think.
Yeah. It is. It is. It's just truly, it
Mm-hmm.
truly is a journey. So, I when I bring it back to that perspective, it's just like this is a journey. Even with I haven't posted a lot on my Journey with Black Girl Instagram page because I'm just like trying to figure out. I didn't want it to be a repost page because it's easy to
Mm-hmm.
be like, "Oh, this is cool. This is beautiful. This inspires me," and I want to like give everybody else props and like show love to everybody else. But I really needed to take a step back to figure out this is as an artist, as a curator, just as a Black woman creative, like
Mm-hmm.
what how's this content gonna make sense that
Mm-hmm.
isn't just reposting somebody else's
Sure.
content, right? So
Right.
yeah.
No,
Mhm.
and I think that with that type of outlook and context, it's more inclusive of others' experiences.
Right.
It's not just about you, and I think that's what I like
Right.
about your curation, is that you bring in artists from all over, different type of styles, different
Mm.
types of looks, and let's talk about the art on the BeltLine collection that and installation that you been curating. I don't know how long has that been going on. It's been
Yeah,
this.
it honestly I honestly they just took them down and they
Mhm.
have them in like archival storage and they're just like I was talking to the owner or what in of the property and they're just like we're not going to get rid of them. We're going to figure out how to like repurpose them and show them somewhere else. So that is still in kind of conversation. But it
Mhm.
still hurt my feelings when I went to the Beltline the other day and I was like, they're not there. It's
uh,
been up there for like three. It felt like it was there for it started in 2021, so it was like literally like 2.5 years that
mhm.
those walls were up, and it's like now it's gone, and it's this beautiful building and all this sculpture, like not sculpture,
Mhm.
but all this like architect is like going on, and it's like, but where's the art's gone? But
Mhm.
I think that was such a beautiful project, and sometimes I go back and like research hashtags and just try to see who, people who have posted it, posted pictures by those murals. Uh,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so just like it had a purpose and people really did respect it and enjoyed
Mm.
it
Mhm.
and it told a story. Yeah.
Yeah, and it made an impact for those who been up and down the BeltLine,
Mhm.
for the city of Atlanta and for the artists, because I
Right.
feel lucky to have been part of it. Like, I'm glad that I got the call, and it's like, cause we the artists are the ones um, who look to share our message, and like that is a perfect place, even if it's gone out, but it was a perfect place to put all this
Right.
big collection in one long continuous.
Right.
Yeah, it's great. It was great. And so that was a couple of years of work. And how does one get a job as a curator, curating a body of work like that? What happened?
Honestly, I feel like once you're like put in the work and you build good relationships and you have a good reputation that your name will be spoken in rooms, and that was literally
Mm-hmm.
someone reached out to me and was just like such and such recommended you for this job. We're looking for a curator, and we know that you did work with the Beltline prior because I was the first curator residence for the Art of the Beltline, and they reached out and
Mm-hmm.
so this would be a good person, and so that's how I received that opportunity, and so it just felt good to know that the work that I have done is not only making an impact in the community, but it's able to create resources for
Uh-huh.
the artists, right? That put me in a place that I can help other artists with resources and bring money in their pocket.
Yeah, yeah, of
So
course.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
those are the kind of favors I like to ask when there's money to go with it. It's like, hey, can you? And then here's how much we got.
right. So I definitely learned a lot with just like negotiating and just like trying to figure out like the schedule and even on the conversations we had, just like making sure that you have sponsorships to take care of those
Mm-hmm.
extra necessities or like emergency things that
Mm-hmm.
happen while you're waiting in transit for
Yeah.
other things. So yeah, so like
Mm-hmm.
just still learning about that and positioning myself to like know my worth and know not to be scared to ask for what more than what you think so you
Yeah.
can take care of like those emergency
Mm-hmm.
situations.
So it looks like one of your current projects is called Comfy Scent.
Oh, so comfy, yeah. So Comfy Scent, it's ran by Deanna. I think her name's. So Comfy Art actually is the business,
Mm-hmm.
and she created this branch called Comfy Scent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in collaboration or with partnership with a candle company. I think it's called Scented Vines, and this is the second year they did it. And she asked me and a couple of the artists to paint on these vessels for these candles. And so you come up with your own. We got 12 candles to hand paint. You can do whatever you want, and then we can pick our scent. So we customize our own scent, and talk about what the theme is. Send your
Mm-hmm.
scent and how you want it to relate to your art, and then they create a custom candle. And so now I have this is my second set of candles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's it's not just it's that's not. I guess that could be like merch, but it's not even like another shirt design or
Hmm.
mouse pad design. Like this is some straight up stuff. Like it goes in your home.
Yeah, the home decor, like literally. So my dream of being an interior designer, like you can put some C. Brooks art not only on your wall, but you can smell it. You
Not right.
can smell the art now.
Wow, that's right. That's right. So visual art and whatever you call smelling the Well, I guess what do you call that? There's a
Like a
word
great,
for
yeah,
aromatherapy.
yeah, aromatherapy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, well, looking at your journey, it's amazing to see all the spaces that you're in, see how you're able to. I mean, it looks just like natural, like you just
Thank you.
been doing it for a long, long time, and it's just so natural to see. And that's what to me is what our podcast about is that we want to share our experience so that those who are thinking about it, who have
Mhm.
ideas about it, can look at this experience and say, "Hey, if that person can do it, then so can I."
Right.
Yeah, so it's really great to see all of these things. What is the? We're gonna wind down to the last couple questions. What is the one main message you want people to get out of the work that you're working at that any given time? Like, is there something that follows through in any of your projects?
I think the bottom line is just I just hope to encourage creativity. Like I just want to be able to spark an idea, a thought, a
Mm-hmm.
conversation, a feeling that makes you feel good, or just that you want to share with someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Makes you feel good. You want to share. Because I'm looking at, like, recently you did some, a painting class in a school, fourth and fifth
Yeah.
grade.
So it came back around full circle. Like I said, when I used to paint jokes, I painted that for 10 years, no, 7 years, and then I started doing my curating journey. So at the residency, I do paint parties. I don't paint parties, but events for the residents. And then someone reached out to me for a mentor group and in Snellville, and they were doing like their last like meetup, and I was like, "Well, you want to do something for the girls?" And so I came out and did a paint class with the girls, and they enjoyed it. I think it was right before Mother's Day, so it might have been a gift for their moms.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt good to be around, like little black girls and like get to paint. And so, yeah, so just incorporating like my art instruction back and entertaining people with that.
And that's what it looks like enjoying, expressing, and finding the joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's evident in all of your work. Where can we find more of your work? Where should people go to find it?
So right now, okay, so you can definitely come to People's Town Maverick Apartments to come see the sculpture and the mural. Um, and I just finished a mural on Cascade Heights, right off of Cascade and Beecher. It's for an upcoming ice cream shop. That's probably gonna open like probably like late June,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't posted it because I still have to go sign my name. So I'm gonna post a picture.
Yep.
I was putting stuff in the story, so I was let me just sign my name
Mm-hmm.
last, and I'll post it. So yeah, so that's like public art you can go see, and I have two murals in the West End, so you can see off of Lee Street, one on the Rent Easy building, and then there's one on the daycare, but you'll see it
Mm-hmm.
right across from the West End train station. So those are like my public art pieces. I have a piece that's coming up at Mint Gallery for their fundraising show on June 10th. I'm curating a show. Another full circle came back around to ArtsXchange. They commissioned me to curate the Dr. Derby archival show. Now's the day. That's up now through June 10th. We actually have a salsa night on Friday with King Quicks hosting the class. So it's gonna be like a little dance party in the gallery. So if it's the Dr. Derby, if anyone knows, she's a civil rights icon, photographer, scholar, worked at Georgia State, and she loved to dance. And so we were doing like an honor night in salsa for her, like a Bronx style salsa night, Friday night. So you can come out to that, which is June 1st. No, June 2nd. And then the closing day will be a panel talk about her life and the artwork. So curating, that was my first time curating an archival show, like to be able to be like invited to her house by her estate to actually pick out photos and go through her collection to show, like that's like a graduation for me. Like I felt like that's another step in curation that I never even thought of. So it felt good to be able to do that. But yeah, so that's what I have going on. I'm actually just started painting a pool. I'm painting inside a whole pool. And that's been a whole journey itself, because even just doing the research on the type of paint to put in the pool, and it's so expensive. But that's like a learning experience for me. And everyone's like, I did a little quick reel of like just me prepping the pool. And everyone's like, I can't wait to see what it's gonna look like. And I'm just like, me too.
Oh man!
I'm confident with the mock-up and everything, but it's just like this is new. Like everything's a new learning experience, and so it's just like I've literally wanted to paint a pool, and it happened. It's happening. So, but yeah. Other than that, I am
online. Where do we find you online? How about the online part?
Oh yeah, so Instagram, Brooks Art. You can always hashtag Brooks Art or hashtag Courtney the Curator for events or past events. You can see Journey of a Black Girl at Instagram, journeyofaBlackGirl.com if you want to buy some merch, and cbrooksart.com, which needs to be updated because I have not added all of the projects that I've done thus far recently on the website. So that's another list of things I need to do.
Something else to add to the long list of things to do. Sure. Right. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I appreciate you taking the time to take us through the journey of a Black girl. It's awesome.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I like when you reached out, I'm like, I might have to go back and watch the interview from like 7 years ago. And see how much I've grown. I think I've changed a lot, but I think I still have the same sentiments of things. But
sure.
I always appreciate you.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I was just talking about you too real quick. I had Flux that came and helped me with the mural for a second. He let me borrow his ladder, and I just remember the event you had where I was like an Artist King panel, and I think Dub and Kat was on it, and Flux, and we did the little speed meetup network, and everyone was going to different tables to talk to the different artists. And I remember meeting Flux there, and I was like, oh, it's just a full circle. So I appreciate you for all the connections that you put me on, for the people I've met through you.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Well, thank you for mentioning that. And yeah, I mean, I think that the longer you stay committed to the community, the more of the community gonna see, and we're all gonna rise together.
Yes. Message.
The Artist King podcast is made possible by the support of our sponsors, Azalea Creative Group, Sketchable Plus, and Visual Artworks. Once again, I am DTM, and I look forward to sharing the business of art with you. Until next time, stay creative.